We got the same blood type. Got eyes like broken.
I like that. It's Unger, but yeah, Unger.
From Hungary. We met on the set, and you managed to get yourself in the movie as well.
Oh yeah, I did indeed.
We won't spoil it though. It was a good little bit right at the end of the movie, and you did a good job of that.
Well, thank you. It was quite unexpected. I like spontaneous things like that. But yeah, the first time I heard of it, I was just browsing online, a job site for film jobs, and it kind of spoke to me because it was a film about bipolar depression, and as someone who's had her own run-ins with depression, I felt strongly about it. I wanted to be in it. And then Emilia responded to my application, and I guess things just took off from there. We ended up working together. We kind of had a really good rapport, I felt, with you, with Emilia, with Phil.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing we shot was in a hospice.
Yeah.
And then various things. It amazed me how many different things we did and how many different locations. Because I've done a couple of big things and sort of big budget films where you're very much constrained by the budget, by movement orders, by rules of how you use locations. Whereas here we just kind of ran with it and we said, okay, now we're going to shoot on the street, or now we're going to shoot a motorbike scene, or now we're going to go into someone's home. And I loved that kind of
spontaneity.
Exactly, and that's where the magic happens, I think, very often.
And that's we kind of filmed when we could, used our environment when it was available.
Yeah.
But going back to what you spoke about in terms of what drew you to the project, the bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
And you talked about depression. Do you feel that what does mental illness mean to you then in terms of today, society, and has film and television covered it enough?
I think now the awareness is sort of, there's a growing awareness, and more companies, media outlets seem to be addressing it. But I think it's very early days. Like, I know that for myself, as someone who has suffered from depression before and who even suspected she might be bipolar.
Really?
It's definitely not a clinical diagnosis, but I have those huge ups and downs. I felt always on the outside, like if you're on the outside and looking in and people are leading their normal lives. And most of the films that I've seen are about normal people who have their petty normal problems, and sometimes I felt like it can be quite debilitating, and it affects you in ways that color your entire experience of things. And I feel like what you did in Transference and various editing techniques and with sound and the way it's cut really captures that experience of
feeling isolated, detached from reality.
Exactly.
Which is what we were trying to achieve,
Yeah, so that's the sense I got while on the shoot as well. I felt like, yes, my experience is being translated into something that I can understand and relate to.
That's really nice.
And then I haven't seen the whole thing yet, but having seen what I've seen of the film, the way it's been treated in post-production kind of also adds another layer to that.
Do you think we're respecting mental illness, really? Because it is a delicate subject, and I think more people suffer from it than we might first think.
Yeah, we might be aware of.
Yeah.
It always amazes me how many friends of mine who I consider really robust people sort of admit to suffering from a mental illness. So I think there's definitely more people dealing with it than we know, which is why it's surprising that it's not covered more widely. But I think you obviously respect it, because otherwise why would you make a film about it? Why would you go to such lengths to illustrate someone's suffering and how someone's existence is crippled by mental illness, and sort of the struggle against it, trying to find a way out in another person or in your job or on your own.
Because in this film, they both suffer from something, actually. Although he's got a particular illness, she carries something as well, which we start to learn is more of a, potentially a disorder, I guess, but we're not quite sure yet. But that acts as his
Trigger
catalyst.
or catalyst.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good word. But I guess, funnily enough, people like that are always drawn to each other, aren't they? So therefore, I feel like it's not a fictional story, but it's something that actually happens quite a lot in real life.
Because we talk about that in the film in terms of quantum mechanics and how atoms are drawn to each other in a certain way. So there must be like attracts like to some degree.
Yeah, and I've definitely had relationships with people like that who were damaged in a different way to me, but it wasn't a healthy relationship. And I'm so glad, and I'm kind of, it's almost like a perverse interest of, I want to see this depicted on screen, my sort of messed up relationship or my unhealthy dynamics.
Yeah.
How is that a thing? Is it just that, again, I'm isolated because other people have normal relationships? And I feel like Transference is going to portray that kind of relationship.
Do you feel like you're quite honest with how you felt in terms of depression and all that? Does it help that you talk about it?
Oh yeah, massively. Like right now, funnily enough, I'm coming out of a situation like that, which ended last week. So I've been kind of down today, and it actually really helps,
To just let it out.
to have this conversation and about a project that we both worked on and put our hearts into. Because I feel like this is more than just, obviously it's more than work. It's not work to pay the bills. It's not something that,
Labour of love, isn't it?
something that someone else asked you to do. It's something we all believe in, everyone that's on the crew.
So maybe you were drawn to this project because of a reason beyond just looking at Star Now then?
I think Star Now was just an instrument, but I think I believe in things that are meant to be. You know, sometimes you're meant to be on different things or meant to meet different people, and I feel like meeting you lot and being on this project was one of those things.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really nice to hear, and that very unexpected conversation to have with you, because I never picked up on any sort of
Really?
depressive tone to you. You're very positive. You're really nice to be around all the time.
That's really great to hear, because that's another thing about depression, is that you're worried that you are dirty, that you're dark, that you're sort of leaking that darkness and contaminating people or places around you. And it's really, really great to know that's not the case.
Absolutely not in your case whatsoever. And I felt those feelings in my life as well.
Yeah,
I think
did you?
sometimes part of the reason is, this is what I'm trying to express at the moment, I believe the spectrum of mental illness is huge. And a lot of it, people suffer because it's really small, but they don't talk about it. And so it becomes something in their head
Yeah.
rather than get it out.
Yeah, which is why I guess this is therapeutic
Yeah.
right now. But then the work we did was really kind of, as you said, labor of love, but also brought joy. Even though, sometimes I may not have been in that place, once I got to spend time with you guys, once I grabbed the boom mic or did my little scene,
You were excellent.
I just felt euphoria, really.
Yeah.
The sense of creating something together. I think that's one of the best antidotes. Definitely in my case.
It's like a platform to put your work or your feelings onto, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You related obviously with Katerina's character, or my character maybe.
Both of you in different ways. Yeah.
Which scene strikes you then? I suppose the bar scene when my character. I'm worried about spoilers here, but
Yeah, the bar scene is where perhaps the bipolar depression is at its loudest for your character. Even now, as I think about it, I tense up because I feel like that scene portrays the tension building so well. I know that feeling, and I can relate to it, and I want to go away from it. And I'm thinking of one of your intimate scenes in the bedroom when you're just teasing each other and you're really close with each other, and Katerina's a little bit closed off, but you're being tender and want to know what she's thinking. I feel like that's a safe place. You know, when I think about my favorite scene, I keep going back to that one
Wow.
because it's a nice place to be in terms of combating your depression. That's a sort of bubble that you're in.
What did you feel about both characters in that scene? Because that's quite an intricate scene, actually.
There's so much going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the attraction, the sexual tension, which is very sort of lovely and understated. For instance, it was my first bedroom scene that I've ever done on a movie set, and obviously, as a boom operator, it's quite intimate because you're in people's faces all of the time.
Yeah.
And I never thought about that before I started doing the boom, and then I realized actually, makeup spends maybe a half an hour on you. But the boom operator is there in every single scene, even in the bedroom.
The fact that we all went for dinner first, me, you, Phil, and Amelia,
Yeah.
and we just became a unit. So
Yeah,
there
it
was
felt like we did, yeah.
There was no self-consciousness.
None at all. And that was the strange thing. There was no awkwardness. It was lovely. It was comfortable. I remember Amelia saying, "Oh, I'm so glad it's you because we're really comfortable
That's
with
so
you."
true.
And yeah, so there's that intimacy that's quite overt, but at the same time not in an offensive way,
Yeah.
not in your face. There is your character being playful, naughty, kind of wanting to pry
Yeah.
into what she's doing, what she's writing, what she's thinking. And then there's her also being coy about it and sort of wanting you to see, but also not wanting you to see. She's writing some secret thoughts, and I feel like she's hiding things, but at the same time, she really loves being in that bubble with you.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience to have you there that day. I thought that was one of our best days of filming in terms of everybody feeling in a really comfortable
Yeah.
place for the performances to be so naturalistic
Yeah.
and layered. And both characters were hiding something, and I think you were picking up on that based on your own experiences or your projection. Brilliant. And really, it felt right that you were there. I felt that after that day it was so great to have you part of the team, and I'll definitely work with you again.
Brilliant. That's what I felt too. It was kind of a barrier almost
It was.
that we broke through, all of us, and yeah, it went so smoothly and unexpectedly well.
Okay, just picking up on that incredible conversation, very honest, and makes me realise that it's funny how like attracts like, and we made a sort of subtext of quantum mechanics in this, and particles joining together and probabilities. So
It's playing out in real life.
yeah, it feels like that sometimes. In terms of the filmmaking experience,
Yeah.
how was this one for you, and what did you learn from it? What did you like about it, and what didn't you perhaps like about it?
Earlier this week, I got to do my first job as a runner on a really large production for Channel 4 on location in Wales. It was amazing, incredible equipment, hundreds of people. You've got that sense of scale, and it came with a load of trucks, a large unit base, a lot of office workers, and that brings its own constraints. And I feel like it's more corporate than I ever realized filmmaking could be. And I think of filmmaking as something I want to do to tell my stories, to pursue my vision. But I feel like in that kind of environment, it's hard to do. It must be really hard as a director or as a producer. Or everybody has their own very well-defined jobs, almost pigeonholed into doing the same thing, like a manufacturer, really. And it's like a factory. It's a little bit, less.
Textbook.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it was an amazing experience, and I met incredible people who were more supportive than I could have ever imagined. It was fantastic, and in many ways it was exactly what I dreamed of. Definitely want more of that, much more of that. But I, as a filmmaker, when I'm making my own films and not learning on set, I want to work like we did on Transference. That same kind of spontaneity, that same kind of freedom, going with the creative flow. Of course, having constraints, different kinds of constraints, like we can't go into this person's apartment or the school is not open that day, or that kind of thing. That's different. But I loved the freedom of it, the responsiveness that we had a situation and then we just responded to it in a different way to what we had thought at first. The kind of agility of it. I can't really say anything I didn't like. I can't really name, because we had the equipment. You don't need, that's the thing. You think you need tons of equipment and crazy lighting and various cameras and all kinds of setups and C-stands, and you don't. And for the real artistry of it, you don't.
What do you think we need then? Because I know what I need, which is very sort of basic, but what do you think after this you learned that we need?
I think you definitely need good sound recorded.
Yes.
And I start with that because we always think about the picture first, but the picture can be really screwed over if the sound isn't right.
Yeah.
And they go hand in hand, of course. And you definitely need the picture to be wonderful, and not just in terms of good quality, but to contribute to the narration.
Yes, exactly.
And to your artistic vision, which I feel like you and Phil have that chemistry, and he understands your vision, and he obviously has the skill. So that's another thing. You need a very skilled cameraman who won't fiddle with this. Yeah, exactly. It's not about the settings for him, because that's just second nature. It's the art. It's seeing that angle or understanding your vision and vibe.
Yeah.
So to be very honest with you, I think those are the two things you need. Those are the bare minimum, and all the rest, the location, the light, everything else you can make up, and
because
you can
it's
work
really
with what
more
you
about
have.
content, and as long as you can hear the content or see the content, you can tell a story. And within that for me, it's about how the actors are portraying the story. Is it real or is it acted? How connected they are to each other.
So what is the bare minimum for you in terms of setup?
The bare minimum, I mean, for me it was a luxury to have Phil, because and Simon, my previous DP. But for me, the bare minimum is a recording equipment and actors that don't lie.
Well, obviously, I meant more from a technical point of view.
It really is so low on the list. It's a good sound and a good camera operator.
Yeah, and I really think that's it.
Yeah.
And you've got the authentic story, you've got actors who can authentically portray it, and you don't feel like they're portraying anything because they are just living it.
Yeah. My issue is sound, because, for example, this location's amazing. I'd love to shoot in here, but you couldn't get away with it. So I love running with the camera and go, let's quickly shoot a scene here, but the sound would be a problem in here.
Your sound would be awful, yeah.
There's ways around it, but it's a shame because you get this beautiful backdrop, and then once I know who the characters are, I can put them anywhere.
That's it. It doesn't really come down to what the location is or how the light is set up, or whether it's night or day. Yeah,
it doesn't. It's just, for me, it's about the connection with the actors and being able to shoot anywhere. That's why I wanted to shoot at the end of my road on the bridge. I want to show people you don't have to go miles away. You use your environment.
Yeah.
There's so much at our disposal.
And that's something...
And even finding people like you on Star now that were fully equipped to be able to do the job properly.
You don't have to go far. It's really...
No,
it's
and
not...
I get that instinct on the phone. I know if someone's right or not 70% of the time on the phone, and then once they show up, you can sense it immediately. Are they committed to it? Do they want to make it work? They don't have to be skilled 100%. Nobody is.
Yeah, you all learn on the job.
Yeah, it's just the commitment to trying. Remember shooting in the hospice, how hard that was, and the first day with you had the boom and I didn't get the full sound, and it's just, do you know what? That's just filmmaking.
Yeah. But then the next time it was much easier.
Exactly.
And I feel like you're right about how we almost put barriers into our own way, thinking we need the extra equipment or thinking we need that special location. Because you're right, in your backyard you can do it. There's no excuse. Once you have the vision and you've got the people, you can do it.
Yeah.
And you can find the people. And I'm saying that to myself because I'm thinking, oh, I want to go to Canada and film this specific thing. Actually, no. There's an amazing park right in front of my house.
I love that.
Which I could absolutely do something with. Why don't I will do it. You know what?
Do you feel that you were inspired by Transference to do that?
Oh my God, 120%.
Yeah.
That showed me that I'm just preventing myself from doing what I really want to be doing. And that you can do it. And another thing I really loved about how you two rolled, you and Amelia, was that you obviously had a script, but you weren't following it word for word. You obviously had a really good knowledge of the script, and you had a sense of the character.
And where
so
they
you
had to
could,
go in the scene.
Yeah, exactly. So you could run with it. You could respond to each other. You weren't like, oh my God, did I say the right word there?
Yeah.
You were acting out. Actually, not even acting out. You were having a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved in every single scene. I never felt that kind of, okay, we have to pose it, and you just turn your head just slightly
No.
to the right, and
No,
okay, now
I
it's
can't
right.
bear restrictions in any way. Camera restrictions, movement. I like freedom.
Yeah, some of it is so fake
Yeah.
in many productions, and I just love that you didn't have any of that. I just felt like, okay, this guy's crazy. He literally has a camera and he's running down the street, and I love it. And he's doing it.
Yeah. No, I take that as a compliment.
It is absolutely a compliment and an inspiring thing.
And I think in the same way that I didn't want to tell you today that I wanted to do a podcast with you. Yeah, and we were just supposed to meet for a drink.
I know. And even that was completely spontaneous, and that's what I love.
Yeah, and I think that our lives need that a bit. And maybe if I'm not a professional by any means, but maybe that's what helps in terms of any depression.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Spontaneity, creativity?
Yeah, because the first thing that's affected when you're depressed is your creative drive. It just goes away. That sense of helplessness, of uselessness, of not being able to do anything, feeling like you don't have the power to do, the energy to do any of that.
Do you feel like that is can I say, is it that sometimes you feel you're not able to be creative, or the opportunities aren't there for you, that makes you feel a bit depressed?
Oh yeah, massively. Today was one of those days. Obviously I was affected by the breakup of this relationship too, but say the beginning of the week when I was in Wales, I didn't even think about it. I had no time to be depressed, if you like, because I was creatively engaged, I was needed, I was down in Wales with a crew. And then once that was over and I came back to London, I did a couple of days in an office. But today, for instance, I'm just at a loose end. I'm just waiting for dinner tonight when I'm meeting up with a friend. And I just felt like no one wants to work with me. I can't do anything. I'm sending out all these CVs. I'm not hearing back.
It's
when are things going to get confirmed? When will I be able to do something? And then here you go. You come along, suddenly
Crazy
we're
man
creatively,
comes along.
yeah, as usual, saves the day, creatively engaged in this podcast.
So maybe, can I say that we need a little bit of crazy in our lives?
Oh God, yeah, yeah. I'm just so on board with that, and it's what I want to be doing more of. I feel like earlier I didn't have my tribe, but I feel like now I'm sort of building that tribe, or being
Part of something
drawn
big.
to more people like that, and them embracing me in that.
Oh, well, you're certainly going to be on our films if we ever get to make more, and I want to. It's hard finding good people, and you're definitely one of those.
Just don't get too big, don't get too corporate.
Oh, never.
Too
I don't think I could be hired by those people.
No.
No. The reason why I stay as an actor in that world is because as an actor you still just about get the license to be crazy, and I like crazy.
Yeah.
That's where I operate best.
Yeah.
It's when people push me in a corner to do this, that, and affects my creativity, and then I get stuck in it, and I go, I have to do it like this, like that. And then I go, hang on a minute, what am I doing here? I'm
Yeah.
giving myself rules,
Yeah.
restrictions.
And that's not you. You're not being you then. And
You're not making art.
And now we're getting really into the deep end of things, but I always wonder about, with depression, you often wonder about what's the point? Why am I even here? Am I making a difference? Will my life have been in vain? And the thing I found is that my duty is to be me, is to bring to the world what only I can bring to the world. And you can't bring that to the world if you're being constrained like that, if you're being limited like that.
Yeah.
And that's why I quit my office job, and that's why I can't sit in front of a screen all day. That's why I have to go with the crazy and be spontaneous. And yes, it is hard. Most people live like that. Most people live in those boxes. And they have the security and they have lots of added benefits. But I feel like I really hear you when you say it's hard to find the right people because there's much fewer of us and because it's risky.
Risk.
But that's the only way I can operate.
Yeah.
And you can operate. And eventually these people actually, I guess, do find each other.
Yeah, we do. Well, look, it's been amazing talking to you, and a very unexpected, solid podcast for Transference and
Which
what
I can't
it's all about.
wait to see.
Yeah, I think it won't be long now. I never thought we'd get this far, to be honest. I've got a cut of the film, I'm working with original music now, and then the colour grade.
It's just things seem to be really happening one after the other.
Yeah.
Very nice and smooth. And
Well, it's been it's been about 6 months of thinking about it 24 hours a day,
oh
but
God,
I've
you're
enjoyed that.
living and breathing it. But then, yeah, it's going to be out of your system and then on to the next thing.
Well, as soon as it leaves my system, I'm going to miss it.
Of
Until
course you
something else replaces it. Because that's who we are. We need that, you and I.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it there. And
And thank you for the privilege of being involved in this film.
oh my God, I would say exactly the same to you. Thanks for joining it.
And to the listeners, just one tiny hint about my cameo in the film. Shall we say, it's I go out with a bang.
That's not the bang you would usually think of. Till the next one. Thank you.